So today we've got this. This is the electrified portion of what I'm fairly certain is an ND80 function, ELEU. It's got the cheaper screw together cage assembly. And I'm fairly certain this is not the ALX, because the ALX, at least in all the pictures I've ever seen, have a more standard slot together and bend over tab cage, kind of like the older all the older Schlags back when they were better. But anyways, so this uses a little hobby motor and a spring to drive the blocking bar. This is exactly how they do it in the residential stuff. You can see here it's rated 12 to 24 volts DC. It clearly takes nearly nothing to make this run. You can actuate this with a 9 volt for testing purposes. The fancy circuitry just here to prevent motor burnout. You've got your electrically unlocking or electrically locking selection switch right here. Now this one, while still being in functional order, got replaced on the door because what happened is somehow the blocking bar got jammed, and then the motor ran the spring, and the spring disengaged itself from this, because if you look down here, there's, it rides along the coil of the spring. There is literally nothing to make sure it stays in place. And also because it's just a spring with, I think my normal clicky pen has a heavier spring than this. Your spiral notebook for certain has a heavier spring. So the corporate overlords of Allegion, they still make one with the solenoid. That's in the Falcon T series ones. Why the ND series, which replaced the D series, which for the longest time, from everything I've ever heard, was the not indestructible, because nothing is indestructible, but the beyond grade 1 series for the time. Why they would cheap out like this, I have no clue. Other than people don't spend money on places where they should. This was on an exterior door for a bank. Banks can and will spend money when they see that it is of value. But also, you're protecting a financial institution. There should be the money there to spend. But maybe the engineers at Schlage can explain why this is a better setup for a fail-secure lock than the solenoid. I'm going to put this back together real quick because this video isn't long enough. I want it to run forever. And there's no mechanical fasteners really, just it clips together. And this is just, I didn't look for any plastic markings. As far as I can tell, it's standard polypropylene, like they make everything out of. I guess it would help if I rotate that around the right way. It's so easy, a locksmith can almost do it. I'm sure the people at the factory in Mexico can slap these together, hundreds of them per hour. Just when it's all together. This is in the electrically unlock state, it will drive the blocking bar forward. But it just flops around. Then you take your top half of the cage assembly and you got to remember to lay this in this channel here. And maybe one of these days I'll buy a proper phone tripod kind of a thing for shooting, but see, it needs to come back through like that. It actually does get retained with a screw. I'm not 100% certain why. That screw costs a bunch of money to put it there. So you'll take your spring cage here and push in on the retractor, and you'll kind of wiggle that down in. And you make sure your cage is setting flush, and it's even got little pegs that'll lock in on. So there's a screw that goes in. And this plastic crap's in the way. And I'll show you what that's for in just a moment. Well, the other screw has escaped, and it's not important. So this is your mounting bracket for the inside of the door, and it slides down like that, and that plastic stuff on the side of the spring cage retains it. You know, proper grade ones have screws that go into the spring cage to help prevent rotation of the spring cage. And then your outside half of the return spring slots down on that, and then your trim, then your handle, and you put it on the door, and or you put your screws through. But I don't know if it's just this one, but in the field the retaining pins for the handles will fight you. It takes an extreme amount of force to push them in. And so this is a December 13, 21 production, so it's not even 3 years old yet. If I understand right from looking at the website and documents, they made this change somewhere around 17, mid 17. So for your more grade 1 style electrified locks, I guess SDC is good. You have lots more options when you're not trying to match 622. The bank got taken for a ride on that one. You can't find hardly nothing electrified in 622. But for your standard finishes, you know, like 26D. You can find anything you like.